Ladies and gentlemen, I came here today to break chains because some of you have been living your entire life under a lie, and that lie is about success. You've been told, just work hard and one day it'll all pay off. No, that's not the truth. That's a half-truth, and a half-truth is a whole lie. Let me break it down. Success has been misrepresented for too long. We've all heard the rhetoric, work harder, hustle longer, never stop. Society pushes the narrative that the only way to get ahead is to grind relentlessly, sacrifice sleep, and work yourself into the ground. But here's the truth they don't tell you. Working harder isn't the secret to success. It's about working wiser. The idea that success is synonymous with hard work is deeply ingrained in most people's thinking. We're taught from an early age that success is a result of endless effort. If you work harder than anyone else, you'll eventually get the rewards you deserve. But how many people do you know who work hard every day and still struggle financially, spiritually, or emotionally? They're putting in the hours, but something's missing. The key ingredient to success isn't more hours, it's more wisdom. Think about it for a second. If simply working hard led to success, every person who works 12 hours a day in a factory or pulls double shifts in a service industry job would be living the life of their dreams. But the truth is, hard work alone won't create financial independence or fulfillment. It's the application of wisdom that makes all the difference. Working wisely means leveraging your time and resources in ways that produce exponential results, not just more effort. When you work harder but don't have the right strategy or plan, it's like running in place. You burn calories, you sweat, and you feel tired, but you haven't made any real progress. But when you work smarter, you begin to focus on the activities that actually move the needle. You don't just put in hours for the sake of putting in hours. You use those hours to think strategically, plan intentionally, and take action with purpose. You focus on doing the things that bring the most return on your investment of time and energy. Wisdom is about knowing where to apply your effort and, just as importantly, where not to apply it. Instead of blindly pushing yourself harder, you start asking yourself, what's the most effective way to achieve my goal? That's when you begin to see a shift. It's when you stop chasing the grind and start mastering the systems that allow you to achieve success more efficiently. Imagine two people both trying to climb the same mountain. One person has been given a map, a compass, and the knowledge of the best route to take. The other person, with no guidance, decides to climb the mountain randomly using pure strength and force. Who do you think will reach the top first? The person who has the wisdom of the right tools, the right path, and the right strategy will reach the summit with far less effort and far more grace than the person who is simply trying to muscle their way through the challenge. Success works the same way. The secret isn't about how many hours you work, it's about how well you work those hours. It's about understanding the most effective ways to use your time, energy, and resources. It's about learning to work with the system instead of working against it. The most successful people aren't necessarily the hardest workers, they're the most strategic. You've heard the phrase, work smarter, not harder. But how many of you are actually living by that principle? In a world obsessed with hustle culture, it's easy to get caught up in the idea that you're not doing enough if you're not constantly moving. The problem is, movement without direction is meaningless. You could be the busiest person in the world, but if you're busy doing the wrong things, you'll never reach your destination. If you're chasing the wrong goals or working in areas that don't produce real value, all that effort will amount to nothing more than wasted energy. To work wisely, you need to learn the art of prioritization. Successful people know what's important and what's not. They focus on high leverage activities, the ones that make the most impact in the shortest amount of time. They don't get lost in the weeds of every little task. They focus on their highest and best use. For instance, instead of spending hours organizing your emails or trying to do everything yourself, you may find it more valuable to outsource those tasks and focus on activities that directly contribute to revenue, relationships, or personal growth. Another key aspect of working wisely is knowing when to rest. We often hear that rest is for the weak, but the truth is, rest is crucial for high performance. You can't expect to sustain peak performance if you don't give your mind and body the time it needs to recharge. Working wisely isn't about never taking breaks. It's about recognizing that rest is a strategic part of success. It's the fuel that allows you to work at your highest capacity when it's time to go full throttle. It's time to reframe your understanding of success. Stop measuring your productivity by how hard you're working and start measuring it by how effectively you're working. Focus on developing wisdom, strategic thinking, decision-making, and systems that allows you to do more with less effort. When you begin to prioritize your energy, focus on value, and align your actions with purpose, you'll start seeing the results you've been striving for. The true key to success is not working harder, but working wiser. We've been told for years that success means chasing money, that the goal of life is to amass wealth and accumulate as much as we can. You've heard it, I've heard it, and many of us have been programmed to think that money is the ultimate goal, the ultimate sign of success. We're taught to go after it, work for it, and when we have enough of it, we've made it. But let me tell you something that will change everything you've ever thought about money. Money doesn't come to those who chase it, it comes to those who create value. The lie that society feeds us is that money is a finite resource, like a pie that gets divided into slices. The more you get, the less there is for everyone else. But that's a scarcity mindset. The truth is that money flows to value, and there's no limit to how much value you can create. This isn't just some motivational catchphrase. It's a fundamental truth of the marketplace, a principle that has governed the flow of wealth throughout history. When you understand that money is a byproduct of value, everything changes. No longer are you running after money like a rabbit chasing a carrot. Instead, you shift your focus to creating value, solving problems, meeting needs, and improving lives. The more value you bring to the world, the more money will naturally follow. This is the foundational principle of success in business and life. Think about it this way. If you're just chasing money, you're likely focused on short-term goals, how to make a quick buck, how to get ahead fast. But money that is earned without creating real value is usually fleeting. It doesn't stick around for long because it wasn't earned through something sustainable. On the other hand, when you focus on creating real value, your wealth grows over time because it's built on a solid foundation. It's not just about getting money. It's about building a legacy of value that will continue to pay dividends for years to come. The reality is that every product, every service, every idea that becomes successful in the marketplace does so because it solves a problem, fulfills a need, or makes someone's life better. When you focus on creating something that adds value to others, the money comes almost as a secondary benefit. You don't have to chase it, it finds you. This is why the most successful entrepreneurs and business people are constantly thinking about how they can serve others better, not about how they can get ahead themselves. Let's take a look at some of the greatest success stories. Take Steve Jobs, for example. He didn't create the iPhone because he wanted to get rich. He created it because he saw an opportunity to revolutionize the way people communicate, work, and connect with each other. The value that the iPhone brought to the world, convenience, innovation, and efficiency, was massive. And because of that, money came flooding in. Jobs created something that solved a problem for millions of people, and in return, he was richly rewarded. But the focus was always on the value, not the money. This isn't just true for tech giants. It's true for anyone in any field, whether you're a coach, a consultant, a creator, or a business owner. The same principle applies. Money follows value. The more value you can offer, whether through your skills, your ideas, your products, or your services, the more You will be compensated. You don't need to spend your time chasing after money. Instead, spend your time thinking about how you can help others, solve problems, and make an impact. One of the reasons so many people struggle financially is because they're looking at the process all wrong. They think that the goal is to make money, but the real goal is to find ways to create value. Money is just the reward for the value you provide. It's like a byproduct. The more value you create, the more money you attract. Simple as that. Now, this doesn't mean that you should work for free or undervalue yourself. Creating value doesn't mean you should be a martyr. On the contrary, you should be compensated generously for the value you provide. But the key is understanding that your worth isn't just tied to how much you can charge or how much you can accumulate. It's tied to how much value you can give. If you focus on value, you'll find that the opportunities to earn money will become abundant and almost effortless. In the world of business, especially in the online space, this principle is even more apparent. Entrepreneurs who focus on value, those who are passionate about solving problems, improving lives, or transforming industries, often find that their wealth multiplies quickly and exponentially. Why? Because they're not chasing money, they're creating value. Money is just the natural result of that process. The misconception that you need to chase money has led many people down a path of frustration and burnout. They sacrifice relationships, health, and happiness in the name of earning more. But when you focus on creating real, impactful value, the money follows. It's a natural, almost effortless process. The more you help people, the more money comes into your life. Money isn't a goal, it's a tool that you use to create more value, expand your impact, and grow your ability to serve others. So the next time you hear someone say, you need to work harder to make more money, remind yourself that the true secret is to focus on creating value. Shift your mindset from how can I get more money to how can I make a bigger impact? Because when you do, money will come, and it will come in abundance. The world has conditioned us to believe that comfort is the ultimate goal. From an early age, we're taught to pursue stability, security, and ease. We're told to aim for a job that offers a steady paycheck, to build a life where everything is predictable, and to retire comfortably in our later years. Comfort has been sold to us as the ultimate prize, the thing we should be striving for. But the truth is, comfort is a trap. It's the very thing that keeps you from reaching your true potential and stepping into the destiny you were designed for. Let me ask you, have you ever felt like you were meant for more? Like you were created for greatness, but found yourself settling for mediocrity? This is the product of a society that has pushed the idea that comfort equals success. The lie we've been fed is that success is about avoiding discomfort, about seeking the safest path, about staying within our comfort zones. But I'm here to tell you something that might sting a little. God didn't call you to a life of comfort. He called you to a life of dominion. You were created to take dominion over the earth, to rule, to expand, to multiply. That's what true success looks like. Comfort doesn't allow you to do that. Comfort keeps you in a box, stifles your growth, and limits your potential. But dominion calls you to rise above the ordinary, to do extraordinary things, to move mountains, and to have influence that transforms not just your life, but the lives of others. Think about the people who've made the biggest impact in the world. Think about people like Martin Luther King Jr., Steve Jobs, Oprah Winfrey, and Elon Musk. None of these individuals lived their lives seeking comfort. In fact, they did the exact opposite. They embraced discomfort, faced challenges head on, and pushed past limitations that most people would have never dared to attempt. They were willing to take risks, endure hardships, and step out of their comfort zones to create something bigger than themselves. Their lives weren't defined by comfort. They were defined by their willingness to step into their purpose and take dominion over the areas they were called to. Comfort is a lie that tells you you've made it when in reality, it's often the beginning of stagnation. When you settle into comfort, you stop growing. You stop challenging yourself. You stop pushing the limits of what you can achieve. You start to think that this is as good as it gets. But when you live in a state of dominion, you're constantly pushing forward, constantly evolving, and constantly striving for more. You don't accept the status quo because you know you were meant to change the world, not just live in it. Now, let's be clear. Comfort is not the same as peace or rest. Peace and rest are important. They're part of the cycle of success. But comfort is a false sense of security that leads to complacency. Rest is for recovery, but comfort is for safety, and safety keeps you small. Comfort tells you to play it safe, to avoid risk, to stay within the boundaries of what's familiar. But dominion calls you to step outside the lines, to push past your limits, and to create a life that reflects the fullness of your potential. When you embrace discomfort, you start to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You start to see setbacks as stepping stones and challenges as opportunities for growth. It's only when you're willing to move beyond your comfort zone that you tap into your true power. Growth doesn't happen in the easy moments. It happens when you're stretched, when you're tested, when you're forced to go beyond what you thought was possible. You can't build something extraordinary if you're constantly seeking comfort. The greatest breakthroughs happen when you're forced to adapt, to evolve, and to innovate. If you're constantly living in comfort, you're not pushing yourself to be better, to work harder, or to think more creatively. But when you live in dominion, you realize that comfort is not the goal. The goal is to maximize your potential to achieve greatness and to make a lasting impact. Think about your own life. Are you living for comfort or are you living for something greater? Are you settling for what's easy or are you pursuing your purpose with passion and drive? True fulfillment doesn't come from staying in the safe zone. It comes from stepping out in faith, from pursuing your calling, and from making an impact in the world. Comfort may give you temporary satisfaction, but dominion will give you lasting fulfillment. There's a reason why people who have achieved greatness often say they're never satisfied. They're never content with just getting by. They're always striving for more because they understand that growth is the key to success. And growth doesn't happen in a place of comfort. It happens when you're willing to take risks, when you're willing to face adversity, and when you're willing to step into the unknown. If you want to live a life of true success, you have to make the choice to break free from the lie of comfort. You have to choose discomfort, choose challenge, choose growth, choose to take dominion over your life and your circumstances. God didn't create you to live in a bubble of comfort. He created you to rule, to lead, and to make an impact that echoes for generations. So the next time you find yourself tempted to settle for comfort, remember this: comfort is a trap, but dominion is your destiny. Choose the path that challenges you, the path that forces you to grow, the path that leads you to the life you were always meant to live. The world needs you to step out of comfort and into your purpose. It's time to take dominion